Okay, raise your hand if you've ever just screamed, "Just kiss already," at a book, put it down in complete frustration, then picked it back up because you just can't help yourself. Yeah, that's a slow burn romance, and it's objectively torturing us. So here's my question. Are we the problem? Slow burn romance is either the most romantic thing ever written, or it's the most frustrating 400 pages that you will ever experience in your entire life. And I don't believe there is a middle ground. You either live for that slow burn, or you DNF it the second you realize that these two idiots aren't getting together until chapter 27. But what is it about the slow burn that has readers so divided? But more importantly, why does the final payoff hit so hard that we end up sobbing into our pillow at 2 o'clock in the morning? That is what we are unpacking today in Romance Tropes Decoded. So let's get started. Before we really get started, here's something that you need to know. Slow burn did not start with BookTok. It didn't even start with romance novels. Slow burn is actually one of the oldest storytelling techniques in human history. Think about Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Now, if you've been sleeping under a rock for the last 213 years and you haven't read it, I have it linked below. Please read it. You have Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy who spend the entire novel misreading each other, actively disliking each other, or performing dislike so much that, they convince themselves. The tension between them isn't just romantic. It's about class. It's about pride and prejudice. It's about social expectations. Austen understood something that great romance writers today still know. When the obstacles to love are rooted in character, not just circumstance, the reader is invested on a cellular level. And it goes back even further than Austen. Courtly love poetry, Shakespearean comedies where the couple doesn't even get together until Act 5, Greek mythology where love is perpetually just out of reach. Longing is one of the most human emotions there is. Slow burn romance isn't a trope that someone just invented one time. It's fiction reflecting something ancient in us. Modern slow burn, as we know it today in genre romance, got its start in the mid-20th century. That was the rise of series fiction, like Harlequin novels in the 60s and 70s. Readers followed these romances across several books. Tension stretched across volumes. The slow burn wasn't just a storytelling device anymore. It was a business model, and readers devoured it. The Hating Game by Sally Thorne is an example I always come back to for obstacles rooted in character. Lucy and Joshua are not kept apart because of miscommunication. They're kept apart because of fundamentally who they are, and that changes everything. Or The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. Lena can't bring herself to fully fall for Aaron because of who he is at work and past trauma that holds her back. At the end of the day, slow burn romance has been making readers lose their mind for literal centuries. We did not invent the suffering. We inherited it. And honestly, that's kind of a beautiful thing. Okay, but why? Why do we keep choosing the emotional suffering? Why do we pick up a 400-page slow burn when we know full well what's gonna happen to us? There is something actually psychological happening that makes the slow burn romance more satisfying than insta-love. Dopamine. And I am not talking about the dopamine hit you get when the characters finally get together. I'm talking about the dopamine that fires during anticipation. Scientists have actually found that the dopamine released during the anticipation of the reward is actually stronger than what's released during the reward itself, which means that your brain is actually more activated by almost getting something versus actually getting it. Which is why the first slow burn kiss after 300 pages is a better payoff than an insta-love kiss 20 pages in. By the time the slow burn couple finally closes the gap between them, your brain has been firing dopamine for hours. Every almost touch, every loaded glance, every "I hate you" that actually says, "I am so afraid of how much I want you." Your brain has been registering all of that, and it built an anticipatory response. So when it finally happens, it feels almost physical. There's also something called earned attachment. When we spend time with these characters before they fall in love, we form these emotional bonds with them as people. They become real in some way. We see them at their worst. They're most guarded, they're most vulnerable. So by the time they open up to each other, we've already watched them become real to us. The love feels true because we watched it grow. This is exactly why the modern concept of ships exists. Think about it. You've seen these two characters that you desperately want to have be together. Your brain starts to imagine what it would be like if they finally actually got there. If your ship actually sailed. And sometimes that desire for resolution gets so powerful that you'll go online and read or even write fan fiction about it. You're invested in the tension, the glances, the almost moments. You're craving that resolution. Publishers noticed that intensity. One of the most famous examples of this, The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. It started as a fan fiction inspired by Star Wars before it was revisioned into its own original story and became a massive bestseller. That intense, I need them together energy is the same engine that propels slow burn romance forward. And if you've never read this, I also have this linked below, as well as every other book that I've talked about today. We're not masochists. Well, okay, maybe we are a little bit, but mostly we're wired for anticipation. Slow burn romance isn't torturing you. It's giving your brain exactly what it evolved to crave. But, and this is a big but, slow burn doesn't automatically equal emotional payoff. Look, if you've ever rage quit a slow burn romance, actually thrown the book across the room, and declared yourself to be done with the trope forever, I need you to know it's not your fault. The author is the one that failed you. Here's the thing that doesn't get talked about enough. The tension has to be earned. Every obstacle between the characters has to feel real. It has to come from who they are. It has to make emotional sense. Because the moment that it feels forced, the moment that you can see the author pulling them apart just for the sake of story, the spell is broken. Let's talk about the biggest slow burn killers. Number one should not come to any surprise to anybody who knows me. When miscommunication is the only obstacle. If your characters could fix everything with one honest conversation that doesn't happen for 400 pages, that is not slow burn. That's characters being artificially oblivious, and readers feel that. Number two are the obstacles that don't reveal character. Great slow burn uses every moment of separation as a way to show us who each character truly is. Bad slow burn uses external circumstances, wrong time, wrong job, wrong city, without ever deepening our characters' inner worlds. If the obstacles are happening to the characters instead of because of them, you've lost the thread. And number three, the payoff doesn't stick the landing. You can write 380 pages of perfect tension and then rush the ending in the last 20 pages, which can completely destroy the emotional experience. The payoff needs just as much craft as the buildup. And this is why some readers have genuinely just sworn off of slow burn romance altogether. They have been burned, every pun intended, by authors who understand the concept but not the execution. The difference between a great slow burn and a frustrating one comes down to this. Every obstacle needs to feel inevitable in hindsight. Like, of course they couldn't be together. Of course that obstacle existed because they weren't ready. And when they finally are, you feel it in your whole body. So let's talk about the payoff, because nothing, and I mean nothing, in romance fiction hits quite like a slow burn resolution. And I want to break down why. By the time the slow burn characters have finally come together, something has shifted, something has changed, something has happened. The reader has become an active participant in the story. You've been rooting for them, been mentally arguing against the obstacles. You have been whispering, please, 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 at your Kindle 11 o'clock at night. You are emotionally invested in a way that fast burn romance just can't replicate. Because fast burn romance doesn't give you enough time to build up that emotional connection. And when that moment finally arrives, the first kiss, the first confession, the first I can't do this without you, I love you moment, your brain releases all of that accumulated dopamine all at once. It is the literary equivalent of an emotional release valve. But here's what the best slow burn authors understand at a craft level. The payoff moment has to be specific. It can't be just they kissed. It needs to be the right kiss, the right moment, the right word. That echo of every single tension moment that came before it. The best slow burn payoffs feel like the entire book was building up to this exact line, this exact touch, this exact breath. And that's why we cry. That's why we put the book down and stare at the ceiling for like a full minute or longer. Because when it's done right, the payoff isn't just resolution. It's a release. The release of something that we've been holding on to for hundreds of pages. A great slow burn romance doesn't just give you the moment. It makes you feel like you earned it right alongside the characters. And that is the most powerful thing romance fiction can do. So, are we literary masochists? I mean, kinda, yeah, absolutely. But I think that's what makes slow burn readers the best kind of readers. Because we're not just looking for a love story. We want to feel every aching moment of it. We want to earn that ending. And honestly, isn't that how love in the real world works anyway? It's rarely insta-love. Two people circling each other in that not quite, but almost, until one day it is. And maybe that's why slow burn hits different. Because deep down inside, it doesn't feel like just fiction. It feels like something true. If a slow burn romance has ever destroyed you in the best possible way, I want to know about it in the comments. Let me know the last slow burn romance that you absolutely adored, because it hurts so bad, but so good. I want to build the ultimate slow burn romance list right here, right now. Subscribe for more Romance Tropes Decoded, because we have barely scratched the surface, and I'll see y'all next Thursday. Bye.